artists and works toss-up 61 through 75. They're going to be 25 toss-ups, so let's go ahead and get started. Toss-up 1. This former schoolmate and friend of Emile Zola painted the overture to Tannhauser, the artist's mother and sister, during his dark period. The influence of Manet can be seen in a modern Olympia or the Pasha, and that of Poussin is evident in his The Grand Bathers. He may be more famous for a depiction of two men, one with a pipe, at an orange table in The Card Players, and an oft-painted subject is featured in his Road to the Mountains. For 10 points, identify this late impressionist who painted still lifes of apples and produced many paintings of Mount Saint Victoire. And that is Paul Cézanne. Toss-up number 2. In the center of this painting, two men in uniform walk together, while in front of them a man appears to be playing a trumpet. A man on his left of this painting reclines with a pipe in his mouth, while another man sits next to him with a top hat and a cane. In the background of this work, two steamships surround a female-led rowing team. In the foreground, a woman in the shade is using a parasol while she keeps a monkey on a leash. For 10 points, name this painting that depicts an island on the River Seine, a pointillist work by Georges Seurat. And that is, of course, the Sunday afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte. Toss-up number 3. A table in this painting shows the artist's name and the date 1875, and the artist depicted himself in the shadow of a doorway grasping a railing. A woman in the bottom left corner of this painting covers her face with her hands, and a man in the top left is taking notes. 4 men perform the main action of the painting under the guidance of the title character, whose bloodied hand is holding a scalpel. For 10 points, name this work in which the titular doctor at Jefferson Medical School lectures to his students during a surgery, painted by Thomas Eakins. And that, of course, The Gross Clinic. Toss-up number 4. In one work by this artist, a shadowy female figure holds an umbrella in front of a cloudy skyscape. 4 people relax in a floral patio beneath 2 waving flags at a port in his garden at Saint Adresse. Some of this artist's depictions of Charing Cross Bridge and Rouen Cathedral are obscured with fog. Drooping willows hang overhead a bright green arched bridge. In one work, this artist painted at Giverny. This artist of the Saint Lazare series painted the effects of frost and lighting on 2 stacks of hay. For 10 points, name this French painter who often painted water lilies and who began an art movement featuring hazy shapes with his work Impression Sunrise. That is Claude Monet. Toss-up 5. This non-Fragonard artist rented a cottage so he could observe a place Montmartre he was observing for painting, during which he painted a girl named Jeanne in the swing. While living at Claude Monet's garden in Argenteuil, this artist created a portrait of Monet painting there, as well as a girl with a watering can. Couples dance on the left as a number of socialites gossip in the foreground, and this artist dance at Moulin de la Jalette. A woman makes a kissing motion at a dog in a painting by this artist that shows Gustave Caillebotte relaxing at a busy table on a balcony. For 10 points, name this painter of Luncheon of the Boating Party. And that is Renoir. Toss-up number 6. A sculpture by this artist represents the head of a large-eyed woman with hair curling beneath her chin, which critics liken to hard-boiled egg on a sugar lump. Another of his works is a phallic representation of Marie Bonaparte. This artist of Madame Pogani, the Sleeping Muse, and Princess X included a cylindrical limestone slab surrounded by 12 stools and a 98-foot pillar in his World War I memorial at Targos. This artist of Table of Silence and Endless Column is also known for a series of smoothly curved bronze and marble sculptures that represent the flight of the title animal. For 10 points, name this Romanian sculptor of Bird in Space. And that is Brancusi. Toss-up 7. A self-portrait by this artist shows him with a halo, an apple, and a snake in a red background. A creepy ghost stares at a nude woman lying in a bed in a painting by this artist based on his wife, Tehamana. A man in a loincloth picks a mango in the foreground of a canvas by this artist, which also shows a blue idol representing the beyond and is meant to be read right to left. This painter of the spirit of the dead keep watch painted a landscape the same color as Christ's skin in a scene on the crucifixion with 3 Breton women included. For 10 points, name this house guest of Van Gogh who painted Where Did We Come From, What Are We, Where Are We Going, and The Yellow Christ while living in Tahiti. And that is Gauguin. Gauguin. Toss-up number 8. Two of the figures in this painting mimic the two men in the bottom right corner of Raimondi's engraving of the Judgment of Paris. A rowboat and a woman can be seen in the stream in the background, while a basket of fruit and a dress lie in the foreground. Rejected by the Paris Salon in 1863, this painting also features the artist's favorite model, Victorine Meurent, who looks out at the viewer while sitting next to two men. Those men are casually dressed and contrasted in the naked woman sitting next to them. For 10 points, name this painting by Edouard Manet, and that is Luncheon on the Grass. Toss-up 9. This work reused a similar idea seen in its creator's Vase of the Titans, and that creator would use the same concept in his The American Athlete. One version of this work was destroyed a year after it was put on display by a man named Poitron, who claimed that this work was mocking him. Gustave Geffroy commented that if this work were to stand up and walk, the ground underneath its feet would tremor when seeing this work after it was enlarged by Henri Lebos. It was originally intended to be a part of work for the Museum of Decorative Arts, but that museum was never finished, and this work was separated from the Gates of Hell. For 10 points, named this sculpture intended to show Dante as he was coming up with the Inferno, a sculpture by Rodin. And that is, of course, The Thinker. Toss-up number 10. In 1908, Pablo Picasso co-hosted a dinner party originally intended to mock this artist. Picasso later called this artist, Portrait of a Woman, which shows the subject's hands on an upside-down tree branch, one of the most truthful of all French psychological portraits. This artist drew on a diorama at a natural history museum for a painting exhibited at the 1905 Salon d'Automne, titled The Hungry Lion Throws Itself on the Antelope. This former customs inspector depicted his Polish mistress, Jadwiga, hearing a snake charmer in another jungle set work. The title pink-haired woman holds a walking stick and is positioned next to a mandolin, unaware of the lion sniffing her in one of his best-known paintings. For 10 points, name this untrained French artist of The Sleeping Gypsy. And that is Rousseau, Henri Rousseau. Toss-up number 11. This painting depicted a speckled woman in a white dress holding a newspaper, the artist's mother. In another painting by this artist, the high shoreline runs parallel to bright yellow seats on the title vehicle, in which a man rows a woman in a white hat holding her pink-clad baby. This painter of reading La Figaro and The Boating Party was influenced by Japanese woodcuts, as well as contemporaries like Renoir and Degas, whom she exhibited with in Paris as a part of the Impressionist movement. For 10 points, named this American woman who painted The Bath, one of her many scenes of mothers and children. And that, of course, is Mary Cassatt. Toss-up number 12. This artist, the Fairman Rogers 4 in hand, was based off of the photographs of Edward Muybridge, who showed that all 4 of a horse's legs leave the ground while it is galloping. One work by this artist shows a group of 6 naked men swimming in a lake. In another work by this painter, a man in the foreground sits in a rowboat while the Schuylkill River. In addition to the swimming hole and Max Schmidt in a single skull, this artist painted a work in which a group of students listened to a lecture by the title professor about a surgery being performed at Jefferson Medical College. For 10 points, named this American artist of the Gross Clinic. And that is Thomas Eakins. Toss-up number 13. This artist painted the opposing directions to ducks' face after they are shot just after taking flight in the work Right and Left. He based his prisoners from the front on the sketches of the Civil War, while most of his famous works were painted while living in Prouts Neck, Maine. A series of boys joined in line on the prairie play a game, and this artist snapped the whip. He showed a man and 4 boys sailing in fair weather in Gloucester in his Breezing Up, while his most famous painting depicts a black man alone in a stranded boat surrounded by sharks. For 10 points, name this American artist of the Gulf Stream. That is Winslow Homer. Toss-up 14. In one painting, the left slipper of this woman has been removed and rests on an oriental shawl with a flower pattern. A man sits on a red couch, not wearing his top hat, in front of a version of this woman who has just had a white sheet ripped off of her by her servant. A print of this figure can be seen hanging in the artist's portrait of Emile Zola. The model for this woman wears a red bow in her hair and was named Victorine Meurent. Paul Cézanne painted a modern version of this woman who is brought a bouquet of flowers by a black servant and reclines naked in a white bed, looking straight at the viewer. For 10 points, name the subject of an 1863 painting by Edouard Manet, and that is Olympia. Toss-up 15. One work of this name, whose first of many versions was created in 1908, featured two geometrically and nearly identical figures directly carved from a single block of limestone. Another sculpture with this name was removed from the left wing of the Gates of Hell because it was too joyful for the rest of the work, and depicts Paolo and Francesca de Rimini. For 10 points, give the common name for these sculptures by Constantine Brancusi and Auguste Rodin, both of which depict an embracing couple. And that would be the kiss. Toss-up number 16. The central object in the painting is The central object in this painting is decorated by a maroon elongated crescent. It contains a dark cross-shaped cleat bound by a thin rope. Green and red cords lie next to the central figure, who wears crumpled beige pants, a white cap, an incoming storm on the top left, and three masted rescue vessels from this painting's background. For 10 points, name this canvas executed while its artist was vacationing in the Bahamas, containing blood-red water, and accurately depicted sharks in the foreground that are threatening this work's central figure, the doomed Anne's sole survivor, a muscular black man. For 10 points, name this painting by Winslow Homer. And that is the Gulf Stream. Toss-up 17. An artist from this movement painted a snowscape with a wooden fence with a magpie perched on it. That artist from this movement made 3 paintings of his wife walking through the breeze with a parasol. A painter from this movement explored the effect of light at different times of day in paintings of poplars, the Houses of Parliament, Rouen Cathedral, and haystacks. This movement's emphasis on visible brushstrokes and plein air painting were demonstrated in the paintings of a garden in Giverny, including its Japanese footbridge and water lilies. For 10 points, name this 20th century French art movement that got its name from a sunrise by Claude Monet. And that is Impressionism. Toss-up number 18. This artist painted a boy in baggy red pants and a decorative hat playing the title instrument in the fifer. He painted the lower legs of a trapeze artist in the upper left corner of a painting in which several bottles of alcohol sit next to a bowl of oranges on the title structure. He painted a black cat and an African servant holding flowers next to a reclining nude who looks defiantly at the viewer. This artist of the bar The Foiles Bergères painted 2 clothed men dining with a nude woman in another work. For 10 points, name this French Impressionist painter of Olympia and Luncheon on the Grass. And that is Edouard Manet. Toss-up number 19. 2 artworks included in this series are subtitled Harmony in Green and Harmony in Red. 15 of these paintings were destroyed by their artists just before their exhibition at the Durand-Ruel Gallery. In 1999, 60 works on the same subject as these paintings were exhibited at the Musée de l'Orangerie, in which 8 of these paintings are housed. The artist of these paintings said their aim was to give the illusion of an endless hole of water without horizon or bank. Le Bassin al Nymphéas is one painting in this series, another of which shows a Japanese footbridge arching over a pond. For 10 points, name this series of paintings depicting certain flowers in Claude Monet's garden at Giverny. And that is Water Lilies. Toss-up 20. This artist created 53 studies of the face and of a former geisha named Hanako. Rachel Corbett's dual biography, You Must Change Your Life, discusses this artist's friendship with Rainier Maria Rilke. This artist used a handyman named Bibi as the model for a piece whose head froze and broke in the studio, giving it the title Man with a Broken Nose. The head that rises from an unfinished block in his sculpture, Thought, is based on that of his student, Camille Claudel. In one of this man's sculptures, 6 men wear nooses around their necks as they surrender to Edward III. A sculpture group by this artist includes a depiction of Paolo and Francesca titled The Kiss. For 10 points, name this French sculptor of the burghers of Calais, who included the thinker in his Gates of Hell. And that is Rodin. Toss-up 21. In the back of this work, a man with a striped shirt has his arm around a woman holding her hands in black gloves to her ears. A woman at the center right of this work sips a glass of water, obscuring all but her eyes. 2 figures in this work lean on a railing, one coquettishly talking to a man facing away from the viewer in a brown hat. Everybody in this painting is covered by a red and white striped awning. On the bottom left, a woman with flowers in her straw hat plays with a small dog. That woman later became the wife of this work's artist. In the foreground of this work, the table is covered with fruit, plates, and bottles of wine. For 10 points, name this painting by Pierre-Auguste Renoir, showing a group of friends eating. And that is The Luncheon of the Boating Party. Toss-up 22. A pair of circular lights in the background unevenly frame the central figure of this work, who wears a gold bracelet on her right wrist and a gold locket around her neck. The artist's name appears on a label in the bottom right, and the background figures include a woman looking through binoculars at a trapeze in the upper left. A glass of flowers and a bowl of oranges sit in front of the central figure, and the ominous man approaching her is reflected in a mirror. For 10 points, what work of Edouard Manet notably featuring a bunch of bottles of alcohol. And that is a bar at the Folies Bergère. Toss-up number 23. One artwork in this genre, which included a cat with an arched back beside a partially skinned ray, was by master Jean Chardin. Several works in its Bodegan subgenre were produced by Spaniard Francisco de Zurbarán. The Vanitas subgenre of these paintings reminds the viewer of the transience of life by showing books propped open with skulls. One painting of this type uses disjointed perspective to show ladyfinger cookies stacked like Lincoln logs. That painting is Paul Cézanne's Basket of Apples. For 10 points, name this type of painting exemplified by Van Gogh's Sunflowers, a genre which typically depicts an arrangement of inanimate objects on a table. And that would be still life, still life. Toss-up 24. In one portrait, this artist painted his mistress, Madeleine Knobloch, powdering herself. A bassist with his back to the viewer stands under leg-kicking dancers. In this painting, La Chahou, or Chahou. An acrobat does a backflip, while a woman in yellow stands on a white horse in his unfinished circus. His best-known painting hangs to the left of 3 title nude women within his painting, The Models. His bathers at Asnières is set on the opposite riverbank from another painting, now in the Art Institute of Chicago. That painting features a woman holding a monkey on a leash and is painted using small dots that blur together when painted at a distance or viewed at a distance. For 10 points, name this pointless artist of a Sunday afternoon on the island of Le Grand Jatte, and that would be Georges Seurat. And then finally, 25. The creator of this work made a similar golden piece of art that sits on a base of mashed-together trapezoidal prisms. This work was inspired by its creator's previous Miastra series. 7 works with this name were constructed in marble, while 9 are in bronze. This work was taxed in customs for not being art upon entry into the United States, and its body is elongated while its head, beak, and feathers are streamlined. For 10 points, name this series of statues by Constantin Brancusi that depicts an avian in the cosmos. And that, of course, is Bird in Space. So, good luck, keep studying, and keep learning.